Please have a seat because just in a few minutes we will start our event. Once more, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to kindly invite you to have a seat because of just in 1 minute we will start our event today. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. His Excellencies, Deputy for the Coordination of Human Resource, Technology and Maritime Culture of Kemenko Marvest, Dr. Safri Burhanuddin, the Honorable, the Ambassador of Finland to Indonesia, Mr. Jari Sinkari, the Honorable, the Vice Mayor of Bekasi City, Mr. Ahmad Syaiqo, the Honorable Assistant Deputy of Environmental Conservation of the Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs, Mr. Dida Gardera, the Honorable Chairwoman of Praise, Mrs. Sinta Kaniawati, the Honorable Program Head of GIZ, Mr. Kai Hoffman, the Honorable Leading Specialist of Citra, Mr. Daniel Kaufman, the Honorable Distinguished Guests, last but not the least, our pride of all stakeholders and all participants. Good afternoon, welcome to the third Indonesia Circular Economy Forum 2019, Tuesday, 12 November 2019 at Pullman Tamrin Hotel, Jakarta, Indonesia. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. In this morning, actually, we are already have a curious session that already separated into 3 breakouts, right? For the first is, which is discussed about sustainable tourism and the circular economy. The second, that discussed about Global Plastic Action Partnership, or GPAP in Indonesia. And the last is making fashion circular. Well, that is the very, very curious session. Then also we hopefully that it will be so meaningful for us in this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, because now we will start our event with our curious panelists also. I want to ask something. Are you still curious about our session today? I cannot hear you. Are you still curious about our session today? Yes. Cool. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, these sessions will discuss about governance and roadmaps for circular economy in Indonesia. Well, here it is. Let us please welcome our moderator for plenary session 2 that will be led by the founder and the commissioner of the social enterprise Wisesa with his experiences as the first chairperson of the board ESG Indonesia. Second, member of the board of Institute of Certified Sustainability Practitioners. And the last, but not the least, actually, senior advisors on corporate sustainability in Green Voice Indonesia. So please welcome Mr. Jalal. Let's give your applause. Yeah, sure. Here also, Pak. Ladies and gentlemen, now actually I would like to say thank you very much, Mr. Jalal, for your chance to come here. How are you today, sir?
Sleepy actually, but I really want to listen to the panelists, so I'm willing to stay awake.
Okay, copy. So it's good for you. Well, now, please, Mr. Jalal, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm telling you the truth, actually. I'm very sleepy, and I blame the delicious lunch that I had. I really like it, but then we really need to listen to the last panel here in the third Indonesia Circular Economy Forum. So I promise you that I will not fall asleep because I need to moderate for panelists this afternoon. The first one would be Mr. Dida Gardera. I asked Mr. Dida Gardera to come. The second one would be the most beautiful panelist that we have, Sinta Kanyawati from Press and Unilever. Mr. Kai Hoffman would be the third one. I just heard that he's actually from Bangkok, right? So he fly from Bangkok to Jakarta through Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken. The fourth and the last one would be Mr. Daniel Kaufman from Citra. Okay. Each of you would only have 10 minutes to give the presentations. Yeah, I know it is awful. It is. I don't think it is just enough to hear what you've already done regarding the circular economy. I know one of the presentations consists of 24 slides, for example. So, is it possible to present 24 slides in 10 minutes? But that's what what's this event asked me to moderate. Only 10 minutes, but then if you make it 11, 12, and then I know that it is going to be useful for this discussion, I'm going to let you do that. Okay? Okay, 10, but then 12 is okay, 13 is okay also. Okay. Mr. Dida Gardera, you're the first.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Terima kasih Pak Jalal, Mbak Sinta, Kai, and Daniel. Perhaps everybody here is already expert in circular economy, but we try in the government of Indonesia to move from the linear economy to circular economy. Perhaps yesterday, my colleague from Bappenas already mentioned about low carbon development Indonesia. That's the one of our manifestation about the concept of circular economy. Also, we have several policy, for example, in waste management. In the presidential decree, our target in 2025 is to reduce waste up to 30%. This is the concept also of the circular economy. the targets itself is just a number, but behind the number we have to do a lot of things from the household, from the industry, up to the final treatment. Yeah, right now Bappenas, PU, and KLHK working together to institutionalize the collection system from the household. Previously, we surrender the collection system to the community, but we already campaigned the separation of waste in the household, I think since 2005, 20 years ago, but the issue is still the same. We separate in the household, but in the collection storage or become the mix again. So now we are working on it to improve the collection system. This collection system also will support the issue of raw materials, for example, from the industry of plastics, industry of papers that still import from the outside. That's become the big issue in Indonesia. We try to fulfill the raw materials in our own backyard, let's say something like that. Yeah, so I think in the scholars' point of view, since 2018 we have two Nobel Prize in economy talk about the meet between economy and environment. So now there is no dichotomy again, there is no contradiction. The goals of economy and the goals of environment. I think right now the two is not the options, but we are trying to find the best way how to do the circular economy. So the essence of circular economy is already mainstream in government policy, and we have several discussions among line ministries, all stakeholders, and also today. So I think this today event will give more color in our policy. So hopefully within the support of all people that attend this event, the policy can be operational. One of the things that perhaps I don't know, in the previous sessions, yeah, because I cannot see the yeah. I thought I don't have that one. Okay, yeah. It's not working. Yeah, the last point that I want to share is that we are now developing what the call of sustainable public procurement. Perhaps Kai will share also a bit about that. The sustainable public procurement means we want to create the demand. The demand, then we'll invite the supplier. The demand create will be from the government side. So at the end, perhaps within 5 or 10 years, all the government office have to purchase either goods or service with the criteria of sustainability. So it means the social indicators, economic indicators, and environmental indicators. The most ready one is environmental indicators that call green public procurement. So my office, LKPP, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and Bappenas and other ministry will enter the pilot phase. Hopefully next year we do the pilot. So if this policy already run, so the industry will try to fulfill the demand. We will see at first the products, but at the end we will see also the process that using the process that pro to environment and also to climate. So within this concept, and I think not many other countries also to implement that already implement this policy. Mostly they use the green public procurement, but we want to do because in the economic and social indicator, one of the criteria will be the local content. So it will stimulate the manpowers. It will stimulate innovation in technology, in product, and so forth. Yeah, final remarks that I want to say that we are, government of Indonesia is very committed for doing the circular economy. We want to mainstream in all our policies, but of course, in the operational level, we need thinking, the support and collaboration from all stakeholders. Thank you.
Give a warm applause for Mr. Bida Gadera. Thank you so much. 9 minutes. Well, I have so many questions actually from the presentations. I really like to hear. I really like when you say that actually government of Indonesia now already mainstream the circular economy. It's a very bold statement. So I hope that the floor here is going to ask you tough questions regarding this. We are going to use the Slido with the hashtag Icef Plenary 2. So perhaps you can see it here. Please ask questions through Slido, and I'm going to ask the panelists to answer those questions later after all of the panelists present their presentations. Mbak Sinta, you're the second presenter.
Oke, selamat siang Bapak Ibu, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Baik, saya ingin mungkin tidak semua teman-teman or Bapak Ibu kemarin sempat hadir di sesi praise, karena memang ada 3 paralel sesi dan 2 sesi yang lain. Sebenarnya saya juga ingin ikut, cuma karena ada di situ jadi nggak bisa mengikuti. So this is actually a little bit of introduction on praise. Who is praise? For those who probably the first time hearing about praise, let me just go through quickly on this. So praise is actually the abbreviation on Packaging Recycling Association for Indonesia Sustainable Environment. So we are founded by 6 companies, and these 6 companies actually have one big dreams or vision that we would like to have or creating an integrated and holistic as well as sustainable waste management in Indonesia, especially for post-consumer packaging. So some of you might say, how about other than just packaging? So we are coming from the consumer goods industry with the exception of Tetra Pak. Tetra Pak is the packaging supplier, of course. But we have this basically already facing more or less the same or fronting the same battle of waste management in Indonesia. So we see that each of the strength of these companies with all the experience, all the expertise that we have, we could actually create a bigger synergy. So this is how PRAISE comes about as an association. Oops. That's it? Okay. Oh yeah, thank you so much. All right. Okay, so this basically I mentioned earlier on about the PRAISE vision. If we can go next on this one after this, because I think, all right. Okay, got it. Right, so the mission. So we would like to be the one who can at least promoting what we call or what we refer as extended stakeholder responsibility. Why it is extended responsibility, not just the producer, because many of us are actually the producers of many consumer goods products. Because we understand in waste management, we are not alone. We are in this waste management, or we are in this world actually not alone. We are actually interacting one to another. And the whole idea about waste management, the way we see from the industry point of view, cannot be solved only by our hand as producers. We need to collaborate with many of the actors along the value chain, starting from the upper stream, middle stream, as well as downstream. So we are really actually glad that the Circular Economic Forum is actually happening for the third time, and we have been supporting Generation in really putting this forward for Indonesia because we need it. As a country, we need it, and we would like to be part of the solution. Strengthen collaboration and network with all stakeholders, and also able to be a reference model. We are all still in the learning phase, especially in circular economy. It is not yet happening in Indonesia. If it is, probably only partial. So we don't want to claim ourselves to be the expert. We are not. We are actually learning to each of you in this room how to make that circular economy happen. So it is our dreams too, and hopefully with this third forum, we would be able to actually proceed with that dreams. So the roadmap for PRAISE, actually, I know it's in details, but one of the big phase for us as PRAISE, we do first, of course, with a lot of research, review, learnings, just to understand what is really the waste management setting in Indonesia. It takes us about now almost 9 years. So we as association has actually started the journey back in 2010. Until today, we are still learning. There's always surprising facts coming in. It's like, oh, I thought we knew, but we don't. So this one is part of the journey, and one of the critical milestone for us is actually the concept note of Packaging Recovery Organization that I'm about to reveal to you. And we hope with the support of all stakeholders, government especially, and also many of the players, recycling industry, packaging supplier, consumers, as well as retailers, we would like to actually realize that Packaging Recovery Organization to happen. It is a not-for-profit organization, but what we see here in the roadmap is that when we do the scaling up, it is the leverage that cannot only come from us. We need to leverage also from the government side. We need also to leverage from the recycling side. Especially in Indonesia, we have a huge impact of the informal sectors. And those in our opinion, is the biggest leverage to ensure that the circularity, especially the collection, happens in Indonesia. This is just the 2018 highlights. Basically, this is all the works that we've done towards the PRO preparation concept. But just to touch a little bit on this, because I think this is something which we are still in the concept development, so it is work in progress. It is not cornered in stone. So the objective is really to develop the industry-led sustainable and holistic packaging waste system involving stakeholders across value chain, upstream, middle stream, and downstream, which is relevant to Indonesia context. We basically underline the Indonesia context. In the session yesterday, we have actually invited other actors on PRO. And that is actually an example from Germany, and also some of the learning brought by GA from several developing countries. The reason for it is that Indonesia doesn't have to start from scratch. We already have modalities, we have already some capital within our country, some actors already doing it, but we needed a system, build a system which is independent, transparent, with integrity, so that all industry could actually join in. It is not an easy task, because in other countries, even Germany, it takes more than 30 years and they are still evolving. In other countries, it takes 10 to 15 years to finally kick off start. So I think in Indonesia, we can have the ambition, but I think we also need to be realistic in terms of timeline. So I'm looking at Pa Dida here. Pa, the timeline for Indonesia, it's quite challenging because we have to achieve 2025. Means that we have to basically really accelerate the 10 years to 5 years, Pa. And for that acceleration, we're relying a lot on many of the infrastructure development as well. Yeah, so the kickoff workshop has already been done. The concept note is now being developed. We will also at the same time doing baseline, because baseline is important for us to be able to measure. Because for the industry, for us to be able to claim that we have actually collecting or recover so much packaging, we need a baseline. And the baseline is not easy to get in Indonesia. Yeah, there's so many data, but the data is scattered. It's produced by many institutions. So we need to somehow consolidate that, and we have an agreed common baseline at the national level. We will not start with all type of packaging. We will start with the most available and currently already been collected, like PET or PP. But we also at the same time, also as a learning curve, also taking up the most challenging packaging like flexibles. Flexible packaging multi-layer, it is not easy. It's probably only exists in most developing countries, but that is something that in front of us that we need to tackle it. And we hope that by the end of next year, we have the validation model that we could already because we are going to do that kick-off already in early 2020 in one or two locations in Indonesia with the collaboration with the government. So we do hope, we have several conversations with some of the municipality about this, and we also looking into the ministry support, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Industry, of course the Ministry of Economy on this one, because something to do with a PRO that has to be a business model to keep it running and sustain. So it is not, even though the PRO is not for profit organization, but the whole operation need to be able to sustain, and that only happen if the whole economics makes sense. So I know it's too small, but at least this is more or less the initial concept that we drafted, basically involving starting from here is actually the resin industry. So those who are actually providing raw material for our packaging, whether that's paper, plastic, tin, or anything. So we are involving them from the very beginning. And then we have the packaging supplier. And then we, of course, us as a manufacturing. And then later is actually retailer who will be distributing our products to our consumers. And we have also consumers and community here. Indonesia is actually, have a very special, unique community collection program like Waste Bank. That we would also like to engage within this PRO. And of course, later on is actually a cycle of recycling, waste collection, treatment, and then recycler to be able to have a closed loop. But the circular economy, it is not only about the closed loop. We also see the potential of processing some of the residues or even those who cannot be fully recycled into an open loop system. So either that's downcycling or upcycling. Those are the avenue that we will be also looking through PRO. So thank you and looking forward to discuss with you all.
Minutes. So Kai, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm going to follow this example because I need to see at least my presentation, which is not this one. So my name is Kai Hofmann. I'm from GIZ. I live in Bangkok. I'm working in sustainable consumption and production, which is a little bit the UN word for circular economy, and nobody knows about it. So I prefer the word circular economy because it sparks more interest and it sparks more ideas, but I still need my presentation. So what I want to, I don't have to bore you with why we are here, but I think it's very important to understand that it is a very transformative, it's a very transformative approach. It's about how we make stuff. So we all have heard in the last couple of years about the climate change debate, and we know that climate change. Why are these things never work? It's like it's in every presentation, it's the same thing. So we are not only talking about climate change, we're talking about many of the problems that we have on the planet. And I want to get the awareness there. This is a concept that is now the basic concept for the European Union for guiding the policies of the European Union. And that is so-called the planetary boundaries. The planetary boundaries has 9 dimensions. It has been initiated by Johan Rockström, one of my heroes. And he basically says, within this blue circle here, we are working in the safe operating space. So within this safe operating space, in the different environmental indicators, we are fine. We can work as human, we can sustain Earth carrying capacity. This red circle here is, we already are not sure, but we think that we can manage the impacts of the changes that are happening through our impacts of economy. When we are getting out of the circle, we are going into a so-called dangerous room because we don't know what's happening anymore. And here, for example, you have the climate change. We are reaching very fast. We are reaching the 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees Celsius. And afterwards, we do not know what's happening anymore because we have cascading effects. The the International Panel for Climate Change has just debated about this. And we don't know if we are ending up as 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees, or 6 degrees. And if we are reaching anywhere above 2 degrees, and we will very likely reach above 2 degrees, Jakarta is going to be underwater. So we are going to swim in this room. Okay, so please understand that the urgency in how we transform our economies is very fast. So I'm very much with you. Let's transform fast. This is how we make stuff nowadays. So we make stuff, we put a lot of fossil fuels in, and this is mainly through the take process. So once we are extracting the minerals, we are using already a lot of minerals, fossil fuels, and we are producing a lot of waste. Then we make stuff, again, we put a lot of fossil fuels in, and we're producing a lot of waste. And finally, we are, during the consumption side, we are also, again, using fossil fuels for the transport. And finally, we develop trash. This is not how nature thinks, and this is not how culture should think. Culture is part of nature. Our culture has to change. So, that is how we have to shift. We have to shift from linearity to circularity. And there are three underlying principles in this. And the first underlying principle is that we have to design out waste from the beginning of the design process. We do not want to design waste. Waste is not a logical thing. We want to design from the beginning our products to make them circular. So that's the first thing. The second is keeping the products as long as possible in the cycle of using it, making them durable, making them long-lasting, making sure that they are repairable, so that we are basically designing the stuff not for fast fashion, throwing them away, and fast consumer goods, plastic, throwing it away, but trying to circulate them. And the last but very important one is regenerating our natural systems, because we have depleted our natural system in such a speed in the last 150 years that we are risking to reach out of the planetary boundaries. A little bit of preaching. I'm sorry, I'm going to go now into the subject. This is the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's concept of the circular economy. And what is very important about it is that it's separated. It separated the material cycle from the regenerative cycles. So the regenerative cycle is a cycle by nature. So anything that is organic, we can put into the system again, and if it is separated from the material cycle. The material cycle is the problematic cycle, and this is what I'm going to focus on. And as you can see, this material cycle has different cycles. You have the very smallest one and the biggest one. And most of the time, when people talk about circular economy, they talk about the one that is least desired, the recycling cycle. The recycling cycle is actually the worst one, and I have worked in the waste industry. I have introduced extended producer responsibility and things like this in the Balkans, and I can tell you it is very, very, very difficult, and it's very prone to corruption, and it's not an easy cycle. So let's get the things much closer to where we want to go. And that is actually the innermost cycle. And the innermost cycle is what I'm working on, is to introduce patterns where we introduce business models which are much more disruptive and where there's much more money in it. And that's the important message, especially also to the business community, that there is a lot of money in circular economy, and that there is a lot of employment in circular economy, and that there is a lot of interesting business model. But we have to think very different. The first thing, and this is just a cloud here, a word cloud, is to servitize. Servitization means we're going from a product to a service. We have heard about fashion as a service, which is one of the examples, but think about other things. Do you remember when I was a kid, I was collecting vinyls, and I was very proud of collecting vinyls. Right? So I had my first Rolling Stone vinyl back in the 1980s, and then I was like really proud of this. This was my, I was really proud of it. Think about it nowadays. Anybody of you has any kind of vinyl, any kind of CD? You have your smartphones. It's a completely dematerialized industry. We do not need any factories anymore. We don't need any transport anymore. We don't need any vertically integrated machineries anymore for producing vinyls. It is a dematerialization that has happened. And dematerialization is happening everywhere currently. Think about the idea of Airbnb. Airbnb is a platform-based approach. The tourism industry in Berlin has increased at 7% every year since, I think, 2005, so extremely rapidly. If we had the amount of hotels that we had to build for Berlin, the city center of Berlin would look very different nowadays. But through Airbnb, the existing apartments, the existing space was used. So there was a huge dematerialization happening. So basically everything that is happening on platforms is really working much more efficient. There is a startup currently coming from Myanmar. Who thought that Myanmar is producing a startup? It's one of the fastest growing Southeast Asian startups, which is a platform for recyclable material. They don't own a truck. They don't own anything. All they're doing is providing the service, subscriber model for a platform, and things are circulating, and they're using the existing resources to produce a system which actually brings the resources back to the producers. Very interesting models. The next one is durability and recyclability and repairability. This is where I'm much more in, it's like Pagdida was talking about green public procurement. One of the things is the criteria that we want to put for our products is to make them last for 10 years, to make them last for 15 years, to make them last for 20 years, to make sure that they are durable. My phone, for example, is different. This phone is different than the one I buy in Europe. And the reason is that I cannot change the battery. This is called planned obsolescence. That means this battery I cannot replace. I have to throw the product away once it is gone. In Europe, there is a law that I have to be able to open this thing and I have to be able to replace the battery. So this product lasts much longer in Europe than in Indonesia. So these are the concepts where government can influence circularity. The second cycle, and here I'm going to run out of time here, but these are the most important cycles, and this is where most businesses can be developed. The second cycle is the cycle of reuse and second-hand and upgrading. eBay is a known place where second-hand is working, and there is a very big business in this. This includes reverse logistics. This includes also policy in regard to buyback and take-back systems. And it includes policies to ensure that upgradability is possible. Next one is then the so-called remanufacturing, refurbishing. Here the printing industry is already very far. They are taking back the cartridges, they're refurbishing, they're replacing them and bringing them back into the system as new. And last but not least, is recycling. And recycling is actually the least wanted and the least desired. Stop making things waste from the beginning. I just want to go into the next two slides very quickly. The benefits is massive. We are thinking that 50% of our CO2, of our fossil fuels, is actually in stuff that we are consuming. So, going from linear to circularity means 50% reduction of greenhouse gas emission. We're talking about $40 billion saving every year for the planet if we regenerate our system. The ecosystem's losses that we are facing is a massive loss for our economies. Last but not least, we're talking about, for the European Union, these figures here, 30% or 32% primary resources by 35. So we have basically a huge gain in costs that we can bring. Last but not, sorry for that. Last but not least, green growth is a big business for economies. There is green jobs in there. The amount of job creation that the European Union has developed through green is massive. The last economic wonder that Germany went through for the last 10, 15 years was because of green jobs. It was because of a transition from a fossil fuel-based energy consumption to a renewable. cost savings are much, and much more important, and most important is innovation. That's where we are now, and I think you, Daniel, are going to talk a lot about innovation, so I will not endeavor in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kai. I really like your presentation. First, you mentioned about the planetary boundaries. Second, you mentioned that Johan Rockström is your hero. He's mine too. And the last slide of your presentation, you talked about the business opportunity. That would be very important for the majority of people here. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Selamat sore, everyone. And thanks for the invite. Really happy to be here. Very exciting to be at this significant event. I want to talk about circular economy and the Finnish experiences in the transition. And I think I would like to divide this in three key parts. So first, setting the context a bit. Why circular economy in Finland? Just so you can understand and relate to that. And then secondly, I want to talk about the Finnish roadmap and the learnings that we have with that process. Perhaps it can spark something in your minds. And thirdly, a quick deep dive into circular business and continuing also where Kai left us. So does that sound good? Should we get going? Yeah? Great. Maybe a few words also why I'm here today. First of all, I'm one of the writers of the Finnish roadmap to circular economy, so at least I know that process quite well. I'm happy to share my thoughts on that. So I've been working with circularity for the past 7 years, mainly in Finland and the Nordics. And actually today is my first full day in Indonesia, and I just moved here. So I will be working with circularity in the near future in Indonesia, and more on that later. So right now I'm not, since yesterday, anymore working officially for Sitra, but actually I still collaborate a lot with them. But yeah, let's get going. So first, probably many of you don't know Sitra. Very quickly, it's a Finnish innovation fund founded by the government 50 years ago, and it's a think tank. It's an investor and a kind of a project house. And the mission is that Finland will succeed as a pioneer of sustainable well-being. And the cool thing is that Sitra is quite independent. It gets no funding from the government, but it's funded by the returns of its investments. And circular economy and Sitra in Finland, so I will talk about the roadmap. It was the world's first roadmap to circular economy just a few weeks before the Dutch colleagues. I always love to mention that one. And sorry. And then after that, we've been doing about 100 projects around circular economy with Sitra. One of the bigger ones being the World Circular Economy Forum, which was this year in Helsinki. Some of you were there. I have some familiar faces here. And next year it will be in Toronto in September. Also, last year in Davos, in the World Economic Forum, Sitra was awarded being globally one of the leading players, or the leading player in circular economy. So really happy about that one. We've done at least something right. Okay. But overall, I think Sitra is a not-for-profit organization pushing circularity in Finland and abroad. So maybe something similar to Green Nation Foundation here in Indonesia. Okay. Well, why circular economy? I think the reason is that we need to be able to create value without increasing the waste. And so basically we need to be able to live a better life without increasing waste and material consumption. And well, the good, bad news is, so to say, that there are a lot of opportunities for that. If you look at today's societies in Finland or Indonesia, the world is full of waste, inefficiencies, and unused capacities. And here you have a few examples. For example, cars, it's a classic one. You use your car in average 8% of the time, and when you use it, it's 1 or 2 persons in the car on average. And here's the illustration of this. In Helsinki, we did an interesting study. So 4% of all the cars in Helsinki, the Finnish capital, would be enough to do all the driving needed if the cars were shared and their rides were optimized. So you'd have some kind of autonomous driving or artificial intelligence operator coordinating all the drivers driving. So 4% of the fleet of cars would be enough for the driving. Talk about inefficiency there. And you can think of the implications to, well, city functionality and traffic, for example. But yeah, with this, going too fast. With this quick introduction, I want to actually make a quick and dirty definition of circular economy. So it's really making the most out of existing things. That's how I put it in simple terms. And a lot about what Kai said already. It's about moving from ownership to access, moving from consuming things to actually using things and having access. Okay, so the Finnish roadmap to circular economy. The big vision is that Finland wants to be circular by 2025. And Finland wants to mainstream circularity, and that means collaboration in the international arena. And the reason is quite simple. The benefits are huge to renew the society, both in terms of economics and environment, and also societal aspects. Some words about how we did it. So it was a very intense half a year, more or less, process with all the actors involved. And, well, as you could imagine, it's mainly about where are we now, where do we want to be in 2025, and how do we get there? A bit of a backcasting exercise. And yeah, this was in 2016. And maybe a few learnings that we did. So first of all, we already talked about collaboration. You need all the players to be involved to really create a systemic change. And I think it's not only collaboration, but also synergies, because there's always a lot of stuff already going on, and we don't want to make only new things, but you really have to tap on the existing initiatives, the existing companies, and so on. So you don't have to start from scratch. Also, this kind of forums like today is really needed to exchange ideas and contacts. So it's a lot about collaboration. We talked about the value chain collaboration already earlier here. And secondly, I think this is maybe the most important one, execution. So we really, how would I say, we actually wrote in the objectives of the roadmap that this will not only be a strategy paper that is then left behind with high-level recommendations, but it's more of a lean startup type, fast piloting, iteration, learning from that. So really putting effort on that we start from day one doing things and advancing things. Of course, you have the high-level target and vision, but you have to also start and learn on the go, because otherwise you could spend all your time doing the midterm planning and nothing will happen. And yeah, thirdly, measuring. Of course, you need measuring to iteration and the learning. This measuring one is always a tough one. Circular economy is not really a sector or statistical kind of norm, but some thoughts how we did it in Finland. So first of all, if you look at the business and research side, we've had really good results there, a lot of new companies, new businesses, finance, VC money, and funds being born in the Nordics. Secondly, if you go more into a kind of macro perspective, it's about things like resource productivity. So for example, how many euros can you make of 1 square meter of wood? And kind of maximize that part. Of course, with this, we'll see the results a bit later. It's more a long-term topic. Thirdly, very importantly, of course, how does the waste statistics look like? The government changes legislations and programs, awareness and education, and so on. So a lot of things that are really relevant, and happy to share these and thoughts on this more also later. Great. So last bit of this, I'm kind of doing a fast introduction into many areas, but then we can have discussions later. So circular business, what we've been seeing is that companies can really move to circular economy quite fast, and they can really gain a future competitive advantage in that. And how to do it? This is the short answer. What Kai also already mentioned, the circular economy business models. And I don't know, how many of you have heard about or know about these? Put your hand up if it's a new thing, or some of you not. This is something maybe to read about. There's a lot of good material on this. I'll give a few examples. But it's basically just smart ways of making money. Again, making the most out of existing things. I'll skip the Michelin example for time's sake, but you should read about it. It's a really good example. One Citra example. So what we did with leading companies in the Nordics, like Nokia and Volvo and Wärtsilä, and then a handful of, or actually like 100 of SMEs growth companies, we did a program of half a year, or 6 months more or less, doing 3 things basically. One is identifying the opportunities in circular economy for these companies. Secondly, then prioritizing them, making a business case out of the best ones, and then piloting them and learning from that. And the results were really good. Out of the companies, almost 50% after half a year already had new product or service in the market, generating new revenue for the company, and piloting the circular economy business models. Of this whole process, we made open source playbook, so anybody can download. The link is there. I'm happy to share this material. You can download the playbook, and it's really, honestly, the best circularity business guide that I have seen so far, and I've seen quite a few. And yeah, so that's one example. And a few other cases. We need inspiration to change and to have businesses change and have new businesses. So this is one, we have 120 cases in Finland about circularity and the circular business models. This is one way to promote the change. Also, collaborating with startups, Loop Ventures. So if you are, let's say, Indofood, a corporation, you can, Loop Ventures helps you to look at over 1,000 startups and look for new partners and make your venture or pilot happen fast. So we had, for example, a company, Reima in Finland, sell children's outdoor clothing as a service, as a leasing model in just 8 weeks. It's quite good for a big company. Okay, towards the end, a more local and personal example. So I'm going to be joining this Nusa Sentara company in Lombok in the next months to help them implement a kind of zero waste island model, a scalable model for zero waste islands. And it's a few-year-old company from kind of Finnish, Indonesian, and Canadian backgrounds, and the solutions include waste value technologies, collaboration with the tourism industry, and and the local kind of local entrepreneurship and so on. But happy to tell more about that as well. How am I with time, by the way? No answer. Sounds good. Okay, towards the end. So what I'm saying is that we're really moving from just the forerunner cases. 10 years ago, we had Michelin, Caterpillar, and Philips maybe. And now today we're seeing applications of circular economy business models in every industry. And I'm not making this up. Already last year, Accenture made a survey of global CEOs. Every third company is already exploring these business models. It's a sign of a modern, smart company. In Finland, we can see this now in the strategies of big companies, and strategies change quite slowly, but it's already happening. Also, if you look at the growth companies in Finland, they're looking at a 5x growth. The 200 fastest companies in fastest growing companies in Finland, and we asked them, how do you get this growth? And in the top 3 answer was the product as a service business model. So again, a good illustration of what's going on. So this is a kind of fast-moving thing here, and I think you're in the right room. It's a big trend in the business world as well. But I'm going to stop here. So what I'm saying is the world of waste that we're now seeing is here because of we have not implemented a circular economy. That's my first message. Secondly, Finland wants to be one of the front runners in this space, and we need international collaboration to mainstream circularity. And thirdly, circular economy is a huge business opportunity for smart companies. So there's plenty of examples on this one as well. And like Kai said, you can, in the Michelin case, you can cut tire life cycle emissions by 50%, and in other sectors, even 70%. Okay, well, that's all for me. Thank you for listening, and happy to discuss with you later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. We only have about 25 minutes left, and then there are already tons of questions in the Slido. So I really like to choose myself first, and then the first question would be for praise. Your founders and backers are the companies that produce the most waste and plastic in the world. How are they redesigning their products?
Okay.
That's a very polite question, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I think they. Okay. So how are we going to redesign the product?
Yep.
Right. So hopefully, whoever putting that question, we can always have a one-on-one session on this, because actually part of the best practice model that Praise Companies has done is actually put up all the innovation that we've done. So if you go to Praise booth, which is the second booth on the right, you are able actually see some of the product that being marketed in Indonesia and also the other part of the world is already adopting the concept of less plastic or better plastic, or even an alternative to plastic, which is some of it is no plastic. So this is a big design challenge that's already been put. And this is part of our development work already been happening actually in global, but Indonesia has actually taken some of those innovation into the market. So we need actually more and more awareness in the consumer side to acknowledge that some design is actually using less plastic, or some design using a better alternative plastic that is recyclable, or it is actually an alternative that compare for those who are not using plastic. But I think one point that I like to make here, we agree as an industry, plastic still, at this point of time, a very, I would say, a breakthrough material for our products, because enable us to be able to deliver product in a safe and guarantee quality when the consumers actually using it. I think one thing which we need to address, and we have to do, all of us here, including ourselves, is actually the attitude, the mindset about the product after you're using it. So if we are at least being responsible after we consume the product, then we hope this will lessen the burden of the infrastructure of each municipality when they have to collect or even doing further processing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mbak Sinta. The second question would be related to redesign also. But the question is about how to shift from waste collection to redesigning in the context of developing countries like Indonesia. This is very important because, you know, here the waste are scattered, and I know Mbak Sinta from last year saying that one of the biggest challenges collection, right? So how we shift from this waste collections to redesign?
Well, I think you said something very important, and I want to cite a second hero of mine, who is Jeremy Rifkin. He said...
mine too.
He said one sentence, the biggest challenge that we are going to face moving from today to tomorrow is to reach biosphere consciousness and global awareness. What that means is we have to move away from believing our kins, our blood relationship is the most important. We have gone already to having a global consciousness on people who are living in poverty. So we have human rights installed. This was a major step. And more countries are moving now to animal rights. And I would go beyond that way. We're talking about tree rights. We're talking about biosphere consciousness. That means our planet has rights. There's one country in the world, which is Bolivia, which actually put planet Earth, Mother Earth, as a major stakeholder in the constitution of their country. So I think moving away and making sure that every person is part of this game is a very important part. And there are very cool tools out there to do so. There are really, really cool tools to develop biosphere consciousness also through governments. The second thing is the plastic debate. The plastic debate is a little bit overtaking everything. Plastic per se is not a bad material. Single-use plastic in the environment is the problem. So we have to understand that plastic has created a massive amount of quality of life for us and accessibility. We have reduced waste from organics through plastic a lot. So plastic is not the problem, it's plastic in the environment which is the problem. So, and making and stopping plastic from getting in the environment means that you have to develop reverse logistic infrastructure, and the government is responsible for putting forward policy, extended producer responsibility policies, and the private business is responsible for implementing this through their PRO and through the commitment to bring that stuff out of the waste management cycle. And that is part of designing out waste. It is part to design out waste through reverse logistics. Because you will not solve the plastic problem by saying, yeah, we want to reduce it. There is not going to be so much reduction of plastic, not in any meaningful way.
Daniel, you have something to add?
Yeah, just to add quickly, I think I do agree. It's in the end, it's really much about the incentives and the context, and there are many ways to redesign the incentives. Is it then the bottle recycling system with the payback, or is it something else? But really, looking at the local context and the incentives that matter, I think that's the key. And one example from Russia, of all places, where they actually have a really interesting project called Troventum, where the whole lithium, national recycling of lithium is put on a blockchain platform, and all the parties have tokens and incentives to optimize the cycle, the 100% cycle of lithium. Of course, that's a very valuable kind of waste, so it's easier, but that's just one example.
Thank you so much. And the third one would be for Pak Dida Gardera. You don't think that the floor already forgotten you, right? there is a question especially directed to you, Pak. There are already many regulations regarding the protection of environment in Indonesia. How do you want to make? How do you make sure that the enforcement will be stronger?
Okay, the role of coordinating ministry of coordinating ministry, including coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs, we have three roles. First is coordination, policy synchronization, and policy control. So we can streamlining the policy from the very top into the implementation in the field. So and particularly coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs, we are now also involved in the national planning and budgeting, synchronization. Previously only Ministry of Finance and Bappenas, but now we are also synchronize the policy into the budget. So I think as a coordinating ministry, we can control the policy, synchronize the policy up to the field level.
Can you give comment on behalf of Minister of Environment, for example, because this is a very important ministry in terms of circular economy. What do you think about?
As already mentioned before, we are now trying to improve our waste management system. We try to push in the producers level. We try to improve the collection system. I think this is not the contradicting ones. We have to improve both, and I believe in certain level there is a proportion which one should be reduced, which one should be still collected by the local government, and up to the and how to promote for the local government. We also deal with the Ministry of Finance to build kind of a fiscal incentive. For example, we will review the DID, dana insentif daerah. That's many instrument, and we are already now also have a environmental fund body, so it can be also support that national or local budget can not do that. So we have now have so many instruments for doing that.
Okay, thank you so much. Mbak Sinta, do you have any comments about law enforcement in Indonesia? Of course, you have to relate it with the circular economy.
Okay. Well, I think first, I think before we do the enforcement, I have actually stated in the parallel session yesterday, I think an alignment between the big law of waste, which is already stated in 2008, that's national level. It's aligned with, it is aligned with the local municipalities or even regencies. I think the way they interpret into Perda, peraturan daerah, has to be aligned. I don't know who's actually monitoring the effectiveness of translation of national regulation into local regulation. Probably it is something that Pak Dida could actually help. Because I think alignment is one of the important key before we're trying to enforce. Because enforcement most likely happen really in the local level, municipality or regency. But we see one we can actually start probably giving actually a reward to those who are actually doing a good thing. And then we probably need to start implementing penalty for those who are actually violate. As simple as that. But how are we going to monitor that throughout Indonesia? I think still a big challenge, and that's probably the central government would be able to help.
Thank you so much. And the next question would be about the EU perspective. So I'm going to throw the question to Kai and Daniel, of course. Will circular economy be the answer to unlock the door for Indonesia becoming developed country for about maybe 20 years from now? I would like to see 10 years from now, perhaps. But then, okay, what do you think about the situation in Indonesia?
Well, the cool thing is the world is shifting, and it's shifting dramatically fast. I give you an example from the German car industry, where you think the German car industry is probably the most stable, the most potential, the most biggest, most innovative sector what is in Germany. You know, it's like we are producing all these great cars, everybody knows about them. They are currently under very big threats. And the reason is that circular economy patterns are threatening them. And it's self-driving cars and it's e-mobility that is currently threatening the entire German car industries because other people have moved much faster than the German industry. And it's not like a small thing. It's like every fourth employment in Germany is somewhere related to the car industry. And the big companies in Germany have only now understood. E-mobility is something that is not happening in Germany. Self-driving cars is not happening in Germany. It's happening in Silicon Valley. It's Waymo and these companies. And reducing Mercedes to a simple supply chain operator will be the future. So I tell you, disruption is happening now. And that is the big opportunity for Southeast Asia, for Indonesia. Meaning, the startup I have mentioned is from Myanmar. Who thought that Myanmar would come up with one of the coolest startups I have seen lately, right? And this can be, and they started 2017, in 2019 they're already in Malaysia and they're expanding currently to Vietnam. That's how fast the world is transitioning. So it is now the time for startups to move. And this is why I want to move my project also to support the countries to develop their circular economy innovation capacity. And that's why I'm so happy that I met Daniel here, because he has some experience with it.
Thanks. Yeah, a tough question. I don't pretend to have the answers. Just came here basically 1 day ago. But I actually truly believe that Indonesia has a huge potential to kind of, let's say, frog leap, to skip some very infrastructure and bureaucracy heavy parts of developing things and go a few steps further right away. I think it's a very kind of a good country in terms of collaboration and communication and kind of movements, and I think that's really important these days, and there's a big demand for this kind of solution. So yeah, I think there's a good opportunity to kind of often we use Estonia as in one example where they kind of went digital in many areas without having the heavy infrastructure. So this analog might be working also for Southeast Asian countries.
Thank you so much. And this is a question for you also, Daniel. Circular economy would help 45% to tackle the climate change. That's what your presentation said. And how is Indonesia can start and figure it out, the circular economy that can help the climate change, and which area that we can urge?
Yeah, I think, you know, looking at the Finnish experience as well, I think the kind of roadmap process and what you've been doing and what I've heard today and setting the common ambitions high but still reachable is a good start, and getting all the players involved. And then, so that's definitely the way to go, but also remembering what I said, that it's really about, in the end, about the execution, about often combining the best bits of startups and technologies here and doing a legislation and a combination of things. It's hard to go like top down, just a wipe with a brush. It will probably not work, is my guess. So that's one. And in terms of sectors, how to really unlock the CO2 part. I mean, yeah, of course, energy is the foundation, which is really obvious. But also, if you look at construction, it's very inefficient, and we have in the world there are a lot of companies already that have reinvented the use of cement and steel, and that has huge impact. Of course, electronics and take-back systems. I mean, why would you only use the components of a phone one time or a laptop one time? It's a bit a weird idea, but it's still mostly happening like that in the world. You know, from manufacturing industry to also fast-moving consumer goods and retail, there's a lot of opportunities. For businesses, it's not that complicated. If you really have the agility to actually change and do things differently, it's quite easy to start looking at where are your opportunities and how can you make a difference. And I'm going to claim that you can also make money in the process while saving the resources. So that's a big step.
Thank you so much, Daniel. We already run out of time, but then I would like you, each of you, to answer this very sharp question. Please give us your best educated guess on this. In what year do you think that Indonesia can implement 100% circular economy in all sectors? Well, that's a question from the floor. Okay, I'm just the moderator. Don't blame me. Please do not blame me. But then I would love to choose that as the last questions for this brilliant session. Pak Dida, can you start it? What year, Pak?
Yeah, 100% is impossible, but 99.
99. Well,
but
in
no,
what
no,
year?
No,
For 99%?
no, I think we will achieve a significant result in 2030 when we done all our commitment to reduce emissions. So I think in 2030 we will have a significant result.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, Mbak Sinta.
Okay, so I think I'm looking at the industry sectors because I'm not basically knowledgeable about other sectors. So if most of the industry, at least the brand owner, could have the 2025 milestone, that can be used as our interim step to achieve, definitely not 100% at 2025. But we have actually a long-term goal as 2030. So at least for the packaging perspective, I could say that hopefully I can still there to witness 100% of circularity on post-consumer packaging.
By 2030. Yeah.
Thank you.
I love that. Kai?
Circular economy is too complex. My brain is not wrapping around the date. To be honest, I have mentioned some of the factors that are needed. Disruptions are very big and they're going to be very fast. This is not the question. And they're going to sweep away entire industries. This I'm quite sure about. But you also have, especially in Indonesia, and here I really want to say a word of warning, some very resilient systems, such as the protection of your fossil fuel-based energy. Malaysia, I was 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago in Malaysia on the Icef. They said now they are at par with the prices for 1 kilowatt hour of photovoltaic with gas. So, it's like it's a business, it's a big business going into renewable energies. But business alone cannot do it if legislation doesn't allow it. And honestly, there I'm seeing the main bottleneck. If governments don't enable circular economy patterns, we will get stuck. And we are already in lock-in effects, very strong lock-in effects, which is very difficult to get out of. So I don't want to clear this gate.
Okay, that's Daniel. What do you think?
Well, what would I say? I think that, you know, optimists live happier in average. And so sometimes it seems that things are impossible, but I think that they're not. If you are a believer in, for say, exponential technologies, and maybe in 15 years there is a different level of this global consciousness that we talked about, and we understand the interdependencies of things, and we have big movements of masses. So everything is possible, and I'm going to say 2031, July 2nd, 6 p.m.
That's a very well-educated guess. And around 3 o'clock, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. So this is the end of the session. I kept my promise. I don't fall asleep, right? I learned a lot, and I also promised Sano to write something about this session. So let us see if tomorrow I can produce an article, and then it will be published in a national newspaper on Thursday. Then I will keep 100% of my promise. Okay. So with this, I would like to invite warm applause to our distinguished speakers. So, MC then. Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a valuable session, we thought, right? Is that right? Okay, cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you, we would like to inform you, for the feedback of this session or the second plenary session today, you can get in touch on the link that will be on our screen. The link for the feedback for all participants, right? Here it is. Okay, then after, we would like to inform you that the link for this one, the link for the feedback for all participants for this session actually. You already got? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got to the next agenda today is a token appreciation. Now we would like to kindly invite the project leader of the third Indonesia Circular Economy, Mr. Fahrian Yovantro, to present tokens of appreciation as a symbol of these meaningful collaborations. For Mr. Rian, the please are welcome. Actually, this token appreciation that will be given to all the panelists. Actually, for leading special of Citra, Mr. Daniel Kaufman, the program head of GIZ, Mr. Kaif Hoffman, the chairwoman of Praise, Mrs. Sinta Kaniawati, and also Assistant Deputy of Environmental Conservation of the Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs, Mr. Dida Gardera, and the last but not the least for our moderator, Mr. Jalal. Cool. Please give your big applause to all the panelists and the moderator today. Sorry, ma'am, sir, please remain on stage. Because we have a photo session, we would like to kindly invite all the participants also to join with us on this, in the middle of this stage to photo session, please. Yeah, sure. For Mr. Sano, maybe we are kindly invited to stand on the stage, and all the participants. Here, sir. But the Are you still nervous? Where's the participants or me? Okay, come and join. Well, here the camera, please get on stage in the middle of this center. Kapit? Yeah, sure. Okay? Sorry. Okay, we count together, right? 1, 2, cheese. Once more. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Woo, cool. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your contribution. Please sit because we will continue our agenda to closing ceremony. Once more, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to kindly inform you to have a seat because we would like to start to the closing ceremony. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you very much for your kind attention, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to continuing our agenda today by heard the final report of our event for about 2 days, start from 11 until 12 November 2019, that already held in Pullman Tamrin Hotel, Jakarta, Indonesia. For our event is the third Indonesia Circular Economy Forum that will be delivered by Managing Director of Waste for Change, Mr. Bijaksana Junerosano. Please, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore, salam sejahtera. Good evening, everyone. It's a very excited and excitement for me to share that Indonesia Circular Economy Forum taken in very positive way from many stakeholders. We have many supporter and sponsor, and we got a positive remarks also. Thank you, Pak Safri. Welcome. And we do now understand that the government of Indonesia really serious about this. They do understand about the circular economy is part of a global commitment, a global change, and a global movement that we need to be part of it. And we want to share our thankful and also our biggest gratitude to all participants. You 2 days learning here, sharing, networking, maybe have also collaboration or also have a joint project together. It's very beautiful for us to know that. And for all supporters, thank you very much for believing on us that this is the platform that young generation want to show and want to be participated in very active way. That we don't want to wait, we don't want just waiting, inherit the earth from the senior that may be not as good as you enjoy before. Because we want also to enjoy it, and I'm now have 3 kids. I don't want my kids just protest to me that the river is a lot of waste. So I want them also enjoying the river. I want them also enjoying the beautiful beach of Indonesia, of global world. So I want to share that we have around 45 speakers. Thank you very much for all the speakers. Thank you. And also we have the attendees, 420 people that already signed as a participant in the Indonesia Circular Economy Forum, the third. And we would like to announce that the fourth Circular Economy Forum, Indonesia Circular Economy Forum, will be held in Surabaya, Pak Safri, in 2020, in June. So be aware, be participate, and also let's do something that make scaling the impact of our collaboration. So, and also, we are very brave enough to say to Sitra, to say to Finland, that we want to host the World Circular Economy Forum in 2021. So this is our proposal to you. This is our proposal to Finland. This is our proposal to Sitra. After Canada, please go to Indonesia. We are prepared to become the host of World Circular Economy Forum in 2021. So let's be prepared on that, and I hope that is a very good question. When Indonesia will reach 100% Circular Economy Forum, my answer will be depend on you. How bad are you want it to be to reach 100%? You can feel it in your guts, you can feel it in your heart. Do you doing it only for image? Do you do it only for branding, for communication? Or you do it for really, really real change? Because I always say that the problem cannot be faster than the solution. If we are keeping only having this kind of good event, good conference, but with a zero impact, zero commitment, a zero solution at a real ground, it's useless. So I hope this platform can be the real platform to make a commitment, to make collaboration, and to make the solution. So I hope, like the industry, 2030, let's challenge 2025, Bu Sinta. Jangan lama-lama. 2025 kebulu tenggelam sungai-sungai Indonesia ini. 2025, let's aim on that gitu. If we miss, but we are pushing that as fast, as hard as we can. Pak Dida Gardira, thank you very much. Ministry of Coordinating Economy helping us to align several ministry to work together on a good policy, how to create a good leverage on waste issue. Because we do know the most critical point is in Indonesia is the law enforcement, and number two is the mechanism of funding. If we cannot have 100% capacity on fund to create waste management 100% services, the waste will go everywhere. We cannot meet that kind of system. We need to fund it very well to create a good landfill, a good collection, a good recycling, all of it. So we need to responsible each other on that. So once again, thank you, and thank you. See you in 2020. And before that, several stakeholders asked that we need to have the pre-event. I would say yes to that. I would say let's do that. Let's talk, let's sit down and prepare 2020 for better and greater impact. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the closing of event of Indonesia Circular Economy the third. I would like also to say that this is the real proof that the solution, the commitment and the collaboration and real in Indonesia Circular Economy Forum. I would like to invite Ms. Hannah. I would like to invite Mr. Harald. I would like to invite Mr. Justu, okay? And also, I would like the team to set up the desk and the MOU signing that we are real to create collaboration, to do something real on the ground. This is very important. This is just to showcase that this event should be end by collaboration and on also the solution. But before that, I give the time and place to Hannah to share about our project and collaboration.
Okay, cool. So, Mrs. Hannah, as a representative of Source Group on Reset Plastic, please give your closing remarks for this event. Thank you.
Okay, so I will come back around to you. So thank you, Sano. I'm Hannah Niklas from the Schwarz Group, and I would like to present you shortly what the Schwarz Group is about and why we're supporting the project with Waste for Change and One Earth, One Ocean. So Schwarz is the biggest retailer in Europe with 100 billion euro sales and with around about 12,000 stores in Europe especially, but we also have stores in the USA and we're expanding in Australia. So we have around about 430,000 employees and we are operating in 30 countries. But we're doing more than just retailing. So maybe the next slide would be great. Next slide.
Next slide.
Yeah. So thank you. So we're more than a retailer. So we have our own production sites in Europe. We are producing our own beverage, chocolate, bakeries, for example. Then we have, of course, our retailer like Lidl and Kaufland. Maybe you have heard about it. And furthermore, we have our internal recycle management. So we can ensure a circular economy within our group. So we can exchange the knowledge and we live circular economy at this point of stage. For our recycle management, we have Green Cycle, which is operating with its trading mark pre-zero, especially in Europe. And because of the circular economy and we want to drive it forward, we started last year the plastic strategy. Next slide, please. With 5 fields of action. So first of all, of course, we reduce our plastic. Then we redesign our packaging and we want to make our packaging recyclable. So with our for our 3 first fields of action, we are closing our loops. But for a holistic plastic strategy, we also included 2 more fields of action. So we support with removal, to support organizations that are removing plastics from the environment. And we are researching innovation in plastic and how to educate and inform the people about plastic. And yeah, so why we are here and why we are supporting the project is because of Remove. So I'm responsible for Remove, and we're supporting organizations on a global scale, like, for example, Project Stop. You have heard maybe in another session, which is a project of Systemic. And so we support them to end up that plastic is not ended up in the landscape, sorry. And, but furthermore, we just don't do this. We also support, like with our trading mark pre-zero, the WWF in Germany, for removing ghost gears in the sea. And Lidl is also supporting the Global Ghost Gear Initiative. And on the other side, we're also supporting all of our CSR departments in our 30 countries to support local organizations in their countries where they're operating. For example, making cleanups with their employees. And so now we're really, really happy to have to announce a new project with the next slide, perfect, and to announce a new project with this really distinguished partners of One Earth, One Ocean and Waste for Change as a local partner, and One Earth, One Ocean as a technical partner who's supporting the sea hamster and who are making the training. So we're really happy about this. And last but not least, for us it's important not only to finance a program. So with our Recycle Green Cycle, we want really to have a knowledge transfer, and we want to include our knowledge about circular economy within this project. So that's why we are really happy to have these very good partners. And we are really happy and want to say thank you that you are enabling us this project in Bikasi. Thank you very much.
Oh, cool. Please give applause to Mrs. Simon. Cool. Next, continuing for the project manager of One Earth, One Ocean, Dr. Harold Frank.
Dear Zano, thank you very much for this great Congress. We all feel that these ideas are coming from your heart, and this is not only presentation, this is emotional, this is the right way to push these items. Thank you very much. My name is Harald Frank. I'm a managing consultant of One Earth, One Ocean, and I'm very happy about this great partnership with Schwarz Group and Waste for Change, and for sure also for the support of Bikasi city government. Thank you very much. Our organization was founded in 2011, and One Earth, One Ocean is a non-profit NGO based in Germany. We have some offices also in Hong Kong, in Brazil, Rio, and for this we have activities in 4 issues. We are doing marine litter technology, worldwide cleanup activities, environmental education, and microplastic research. And this in the strategy of Schwarz Group, remove. This fits to our activity, cleanup activities, and therefore we built that boat. We have heard so much in the last 2 days about circular economy, so much great ideas, great presentations. We built a boat and you can physically touch it outside and go to the river and start cleaning not only the river, also the river banks, with a small contribution to avoid that the plastics going out to the ocean. Okay, we tried to launch the project beginning 2020 and for 3 years, and we are all happy to be here in Jakarta and meet again in 2020. Thanks a lot, Sano, and for sure, many thanks. Thanks a lot. It was a great pleasure for me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Dr. Harold, for your actually incredible speech also. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to kindly invite in a government sector, we are kindly invite our Vice Mayor of Bekasi City. Okay, the Deputy Coordination of Human Resources, Science and Technology, Maritime Culture of Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Affairs. Oh, Patri, sorry. Patri, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ucapan terima kasih dan penghormatan ya tentunya kepada Schwarz Group ya, Green Cycle Jerman, Miss Hana. Juga yang saya hormati dan saya banggakan juga, terima kasih One Earth One Ocean, Mr. Harold, dan juga dari Vice President sahabat saya ya Mr. Sano, kemudian juga dari Kemenko Maritim ya Bapak Dr. Safri Burhanuddin. Tentunya adalah suatu penghormatan bahwa Bekasi kemudian mendapatkan 3 buah perahu ya di dalam rangka untuk pembersihan Kali Bekasi. Prosesnya sangat cepat dan luar biasa ya. 2 kali kita melakukan survei melihat kondisi Kali Bekasi yang memang sangat tercemar dan juga banyaknya sampah, terutama sampah plastik. Dan sekarang kalau pada saat musim hujan begini yang ada adalah sampah-sampah dari bambu. Nah, jadi mudah-mudahan nanti ini akan memberikan daya dorong dan bentuknya adalah pada akhirnya kita berharap ada satu kesadaran masyarakat untuk kemudian mencintai Kali Bekasi yang merupakan sumber kehidupan buat kita bersama. Sekali lagi ucapan terima kasih dan penghormatan, mudah-mudahan memberikan keberkahan buat kita bersama. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Patri Adianto Cahyono, as a Vice Mayor of Bekasi City. Once more, please give applause to him. Ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, we would like to kindly invite Deputy Coordination of Human Resources, Science and Technology, Maritime Culture of Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Affairs, Mr. Safri Burhanuddin. Please, Bapak, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Very good afternoon for all the participants and of course for Sano and Pak Wali. This is, I want to say, this is a long time I'm waiting. We have now a big project like this with the Kingdom of Netherlands. We have the team in the Pantai Indah Kapuk. I think you know the project is since the early of this year. We have we call it a river cleanup system with the ocean cleanup. We operated this one since March, and we will continue. It's part of our study, how to make sure to study. You know, I'm appreciate the Wali Kota, Wakil Wali Kota Bekasi. The publication is very intensive via Kompas. I think everybody knows that one. So if you want to get some remote vessel like that, show that what's about your area, and this is the part. Bu Sinta, don't smile. So maybe Hana, you know, Bekasi is a part of the city is to support directly Jakarta. If you understand also, I'm Bekasi citizen, but I work in Jakarta. Bekasi is a part of they have the big issues about how to manage their waste, because the dumping area is a part of it's belong to Bekasi, but most is coming from Jakarta. And you know, the problem is when we talking about this removal vessel, we are now programmed to make about more than 100. Why we say 100? Because at least Indonesia is one of the archipelagic big country and contribute almost. If we refer to the Jonah Jambek, she said we are the number 2. But after we have some study with systemic, with NPAP, and then we study with World Bank and LIPI, we are not, I think we are not the number 2nd, maybe we are not the 4th, because we have just to find the number, how much the plastic waste we produce, it between 400 until 600,000 ton per year. If we compare the number of the Jena Jambek is until 1.2, it's a big difference. Because the Jena Jambek count, the number is just estimated from the number of the people. And we count the number is coming from the land, from riverine, and from the coastal. So we combine 3 number, and we have the mean of the plastic waste is about 0.4 until 0.6 million ton per year. So this is, we want to make sure that with this equipment removal vessel, we can make a big reduced number. And you understand our president is, we have the commitment, because the president commitment is mean the government commitment, it means all the people commitment, we have to reduce the number of 70% of the marine plastic debris. If we have commitment, so we will use all the possibilities, all the method, we will try to use this one. One of the method, of course, this is the vessel. So we are very thank you, Swart, to donate the 3 machine to Bekasi. We hope we can do it for another area, for another equipment, maybe in another way, and then we will discuss deeply about this one. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you, Sano, for your supporting, and for the government of German, Schwarz, and the government Netherlands coming, and then Dennis. We also what's called the beneficiary of the multi-donor trust fund. So we have many projects of this one. We have the target. I know all the participants here all eager how to make it the Indonesian have the clean sea, clean river. Thank you so much, and hopefully next year, 2020, 2025, 2021, that is we call it an action year. Not many talking, we just more action than talking. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Pak Safri, for the speech, Pak. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Our video regarding our event today. Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Now we would like to have arrived to the pinnacle of our event today. That is MOU signing.
Yeah, Schwarz Group from German already signed this in German. This is behalf of Waste for Change Indonesia as a local partner. We need to sign it. And the witness by the government of Kota Bekasi, Bekasi City, and also from central government from Coordinating Ministry of Maritime and Investment. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Photo session. Open the paper.
Thank you, MC. That is all for us, and we can see together if the participant willing to see the booth outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Kasano. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we end our event today, we would like to inform you, last but not least in this occasion, we are kindly to invite all participants and delegation to move outside, ya Pak? To move outside to the main lobby to witness the Sea Hamster. The Sea Hamster River Cleanup Boat by Waste for Change, Schwarz Group, and One Earth, One Ocean. There will be also the symbolic handover of a fishing net from One Earth to One Ocean and Schwarz Group and also Waste for Change. And also we would like to inform you, after this session, you can take your merchandise on the registration table. Yeah, sure. Well, here it is. Me, Melazani, as Master Sarma today, would like to say thank you very much for your kind attention and see you next year. Thank you.
Alumni TL, IATL, ayo foto bareng yuk.